I had to ask myself, why am I so easily irritated by the people I love the most? So what I do is, are your family arguments also stuck on repeat, leaving everyone frustrated and misunderstood? What if I told you in just 5 steps you could transform those intense confrontation into genuine mutual understanding and connection? In this video, I will share with you the actionable steps I use daily to transform our family's dynamic from confrontation, conflict to real, genuine understanding and connection. We all know how family arguments can feel like a never-ending cycle, right? And sometimes it's not even about the argument themselves. It's about the frustration we feel in our heart, the irritation that seems to take over, leaving us drained and questioning ourselves. I used to feel frustrated with myself all the time. When I'd argue with my mom, dad, and sisters, I would get so impatient and irritated. I'd snap and the whole mood would shift. I would feel guilty afterwards and thinking I was not a good person. My actions reflected everything I hated. But it's like I was stuck in a loop of negative energy. It was really exhausting. I felt like a bad daughter, a bad sister. I was the one who couldn't stay calm, and I would internalize it. It was as if my family's energy, their mood, affected mine, and I couldn't separate the two. But I didn't want to stay in this cycle of frustration, feeling like I am failing the most important relationships in my life. And that's when I decided to change. The first step in transforming family arguments is about recognizing where the frustration is coming from. In my case, it wasn't just my mom or sister. It was my own unresolved emotions. I was carrying a lot of internal tension, and when I got triggered, it wasn't actually about the argument. It was about everything that's weighing on me. I started to realize that I wasn't frustrated with them. I was more like frustrated with myself. I had unrealistic expectations on how I should behave and how they should behave. I wanted like everything to be perfect, but it seems like I couldn't control myself, couldn't control my reactions. This frustration started to affect my mood, my behavior, and making the arguments worse. I had to ask myself, why am I so easily irritated by the people I love the most? So what I do is take a moment to think about what's really fueling my anger. Is it the argument itself, or is it a deeper frustration with ourselves? Recognizing this is really the first step to stop that cycle. One of the hardest things for me is learning to be patient with myself and with my families. I realized that impatience was my knee-jerk reaction. And the more I feel impatient, the more I feel disconnected from my families and guilty about my behavior. The key to breaking that pattern is understanding that impatience is a sign of unmet needs, not a reflection of who we are as a person. There was one particular argument I had with my sister where I lost my temper, and afterwards I immediately regretted it. I beat myself up for hours thinking I was such a bad person for losing control. But then I try to stop myself. I remind myself having patience is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. I wasn't failing, I was learning to be patient. When I feel my impatience building, I would take a moment to breathe, sometimes counting. I would give myself the grace to calm down and then return to the conversation with a clearer mind and calmer emotions. You are in control. I think one of the most powerful things I did was taking responsibilities for how I reacted. I realized I wasn't a victim of my emotions. I could actually choose how I respond. This, of course, doesn't mean that I'm going to be perfect, but I started owning my part in every argument. I remembered once my mom criticized me for something I have forgotten to do, and I immediately stepped back. But instead of staying defensive, I looked at her and took some courage and said, "I'm sorry for reacting that way. I was frustrated, but that wasn't the right response. I'm sorry." And immediately this argument stopped. So next time you feel your frustration building, just pause and acknowledge your feelings and then own your reaction. By doing this, you invite the other person to do the same and to understand you. It is the way to break the cycle and create real communication. Response over reaction. Instead of reacting, we should respond. And trust me, I know it isn't easy, but we should do it because it's transformational. Reacting is automatic, it's very emotional. It often leads to regrets. Responding is more intentional. It's about taking a moment to think before speaking or acting. I've realized that the more I practice responding instead of reacting, the more in control I feel and the less I get caught up in guilt or frustration. So next time you feel triggered, pause for 10 seconds and think about it. Respond with thoughtfulness rather than reacting impulsively. There's something that has truly changed how I approach arguments with my families. That is compassion. We often get caught in the idea that if in an argument we don't defend ourselves, we will look weak somehow or giving in. But the truth is, being compassionate doesn't mean being a doormat. It means choosing to understand rather than judge. For example, after a heated argument with my mom, now I'd sit back and think, why did she act like that? I realized her frustration was coming from a place of worry or love. Once I understood where she was coming from, I could respond with compassion. I would say things like, I get that you are worried. Let's talk about this calmly. This simple shift allowed us to move forward without guilt or resentment with each other. When you are in the middle of a conflict, ask yourself, what's driving this person's reaction? Practice compassion allows you to meet people where they are, not where you expect them to be. So here's what I want you to take away. Family arguments don't have to define your relationships. You have the power to transform them. If I can do it, you can do it. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's more about navigating them with grace and intention. It takes time, patience, and willingness to look at your own behavior. But we are grown up. We are mature enough to do that. And every small change leads to a stronger, healthier relationship. This is Vivi. See you next week. Bye-bye.